At least 9 are dead in northern Mexico after the cartels shot up a convoy. People are calling it a group of cars, basically that had a bunch of Mormons in it. Most of them United States citizens, but they were they, what everybody's saying right now is that it was actually immigrants who'd come down to northern Mexico. It's one of those things where Mormons set up settlements in different places. They have a few in Mexico, and that's where these people were living full time. And it's kind of been contentious there for a little while between the cartels and the Mormons that live there. Um, but I I couldn't get past this. I wanted to mention it because it was kind of relevant. I was watching Starship Troopers the other day, and which is one of my top five favorite movies. If you've never seen it, you're doing life wrong, and you need to go watch it immediately. Stop whatever you're doing. But there was an article that made it sound like the opening of Starship Troopers. That it was a because it was in the movie. Spoiler alert: there's a group of Mormon separatists that expand out to a planet, in a desert planet, and they all get killed by the bugs there. If you haven't watched the movie, so I'm not comparing Mexican people to bugs, but I thought based on the article I was reading, I thought it was a funny comparison because they also called them Mormon separatists. But let me go ahead and read this, and we'll get started. I got a lot to it. You can't see it, but I've got like 8 tabs up. I may or may not read all of them, I'm not gonna read them all through, but I may or may not mention all of them. But we'll talk about it. It's been going on a little while. Everyone knows what happened with El Chapo, and all the killings that have been going on, beheadings and stuff. But I'm gonna touch on that stuff. So this article is by Fox News, just one of the many you can read. Trump calls for war against Mexican drug cartel monsters after Americans murdered. President Trump on Tuesday offered U.S. assistance to, as he called on Mexico to wage war against the country's murderous drug cartel monsters in response to the brutal killing of multiple Americans days earlier. I'm going to skip that. We'll go to his actual tweets. This is the time for Mexico to help. This is the time for Mexico, with the help of the United States, to wage war on the drug cartels, wipe them off the face of the earth, and we merely await a call from their great new president. A wonderful family and friends from Utah got caught between two vicious drug cartels who were shooting at each other, with the result being many great American people killed, including young children, some missing. If Mexico needs or requests help in cleaning these monsters, the United States stands ready and willing and able to get involved and do the job quickly and effectively. The great new president of Mexico has made this a big issue, but the cartels are becoming so large and powerful that sometimes you need an army to defeat an army. I wanted to say that this has been getting out of control for a while. Um, President Trump isn't the first one that's mentioned this kind of thing. I mean, if you look at the at news reports, you just type in Mexican cartels, you'll get killings all the way back as far as you can scroll. 2014, 2012, or ones that immediately come up. So I think this is one of those out of sight, out of mind type things. People made a big deal about the border wall and immigration in general is the big hot thing in the United States, but we forget where this all stems from. It's corruption in Mexico, basically, and that brings me to the next article. Oop. It was the Mexican president. He addressed basically the comments by the president. Mexico's president says he will speak with Donald Trump after the deadly ambush on 9 U.S. citizens, or that killed 9 U.S. citizens. The 9, 3 women, and 6 children were members of an extended Mormon family living in northern Mexico. Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador addressed this issue at a news conference Tuesday in Mexico City. He said that he would discuss possible cooperation on security with President Trump, who urged Mexico to wage war on drug cartels in the wake of the massacre. But the Mexican leader said he did not think that a foreign intervention was necessary. The dead belonged to a breakaway Mormon community that settled in the hills and plains of northern Mexico decades ago. President Trump tweeted earlier Tuesday that he would await a call from Lopez urging him to accept U.S. help. The Mexican government is investigating the motive for the killings, which took place between Chihuahua and Sonora states, about 60 miles south of the Mexican or U.S. border. So I think a big part of this is if I can find. I'm trying to see where I had. Oh, the a lot of the pressure is coming from the fact that the Mexican president, his current policy on the cartels is, as you can see here, what the critics are calling "hugs not bullets" cartel policy, and he wanted to switch over a lot of the basically the Mexican National Guard into more of a security force to help fight off the cartels, but he wanted to put a lot more money into investing in extreme poverty in the country that maybe pushes people towards the cartels. But I think at this point, what a lot of people are saying is it's gotten so out of control uh, with just how much corruption and all the killings that you can't just play nice at this point. How many years is it going to take for combating the extreme poverty and getting these people out of that they stop doing this? So your country's going to be a dumpster fire for the next 50 years before this solves anything, and you need to crack down on these people that just have free reign over your country is what people are saying, and I agree. Especially with us being the neighbor, the United States, I think, is falling on the shoulders of every past president before Trump. Obviously, he bears some kind of. I'm saying he needs to get involved, but it's on the shoulders of Clinton. I mean, obviously, he was running drugs. it's it's on his shoulders. It's on Obama. It's on Bush. These people that could have helped Mexico or helped curb these problems years and years ago, and they chose not to get involved because, for whatever reason, the United States, not just on immigration, but Mexico in general, likes kicking the can down the road. And they slap little band-aids on it every once in a while. But this country is falling apart along with the rest of the countries south of the border. And it's a shame that we spend all our money trying to rebuild places like Iraq and Afghanistan, Syria. We spend money with people going there and fixing their country, but there's a country right below us who is extremely important to our national sovereignty and to just trade in general. We build a lot of things there. We've got a lot of investment in the country, and we just don't care. Think of what we could do is if we stop having all our items or all our merchandise produced in China and had it in Mexico instead. Mexico has cheap labor. There's no reason why we can't start investing in Mexico and have them produce a lot of stuff for us. I don't understand why we accept their country being, like I said, a dumpster fire of cartels running wild in the country. I'll read the first couple paragraphs of this to expand on the point. Mexico's President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador is under sustained pressure to rethink his non-confrontational security strategy amid lingering questions over the botched arrest of El Chapo's son. Guzman was briefly held in the northern city of Culiacan, I don't know how to pronounce that one, last month, but he was freed after hundreds of gunmen launched a wave of attacks on security forces and blocked roads with burning vehicles. The show of strength shocked even the most hardened observers of organized crime in Mexico. The editor, Ismael Borjoes, editor of the investigative Sinola Weekly Rio Doce, described described the moment as a watershed. Life goes on, yes, but not in the same way, he wrote in that editorial. We don't know if this will now be the reaction every time criminal groups feel threatened, and we know even less that the federal government intends to do about it. But the president insists that the incident marks a turning point away from punitive policies of his two predecessors. I think the editor here is right. You can't just be pushed around. I understand, like I said, his policy of wanting to help the poor, the extreme poor out, and you don't want a gunfight every day with these people. You don't want a literal war in Mexico. I mean, you've already got a war, so I'm not sure what he's trying to avoid. But you can't capture El Chapo's son, a leader in one of these cartels, and then just get pushed around. So that just emboldens these cartels that every time that you capture somebody or you get something done, they can just shoot up a whole town, and you're just gonna have to bend to their will. You can't show weakness. You don't negotiate with terrorists. That's a U.S. thing. but that's a good policy for a reason. In these cases, you can't negotiate with people who are literally tearing your country apart. This was seen in Kolikan. They say after the confrontation with the cartel, after they captured El Chapo's son and had to release him afterwards. Uh, a lot of people died, burned out cars everywhere, shot up city. Uh, this kind of stuff cannot be rewarded. It's like a kid throwing a temper tantrum. I'm sorry to compare to that, but you can't just let them get their way when they start shooting everything up. You have to crack down and take care of it. They say that they're trying to be strict on it, but you notice that El Chapo, the actual El Chapo, got away twice. The U.S. caught him twice, or with Mexican help, or vice versa, however you want to say it. And he got away twice until the U.S. decided no, that's enough, and we're bringing him to the United States. They let him get away with these lax security, the corruption, get away with it, helping him escape, and then just in general, just being bad about catching him, like. And they don't understand why they're not getting stuff done when that's just one of the perfect cases. Let me show you this. Another reason why I believe that the U.S. in general needs to help out. This is a chart basically showing the homicide rate in all these countries. The United States, for just the baseline, has a 5.3 per 100,000 rate on murders, homicides. Russia has a 10.8. Germany has a 1.18. Mexico has a 19.26 homicide rate. Now, this is a population half the size of the United States. I'm not sure if these numbers are exactly right, but in general, half the size of the population. And I'd like to know how many they don't know about, because there's a lot of people that die in these cartel wars, or as a byproduct of them, that just end up in the desert somewhere, and we just never know about it. And that number is probably huge. If you look even further down, El Salvador and Honduras has a homicide rate of 56.52. I believe that's the highest in the world. Higher than South Africa, higher than literal war zones in Syria, and just it's not coming up with some of these. Like Afghanistan, like I'm sure some of these are off. I'm sure Afghanistan is probably off. Pakistan's probably off. But like you get the point. You know 0.62 is not right in China. But you get what I'm saying. We are right here. This is our neighbor, and we need to be doing more to help them. And Mexico, I think, needs to accept our help. You've been saying for years that you're going to get tough on crime and you're going to get tough on these cartels, and it hasn't been enough. And I don't think we as the U.S. can accept them on our border getting worse. It is imperative that we do something about it, not only with them just being our border neighbor, but with what bleeds over into our country. The border along the Texas and Arizona, New Mexico, those kind of places see a lot of crime that bleeds over from the cartels because of this. Obviously, the border wall will be a big help when it comes through. I saw some stupid articles about like they're still gonna find a way. Obviously, people are gonna find a way through. There was talking about like you can get through with like a buzzsaw and stuff like that. Yeah, it can happen, but you push back on a lot of these in general. I mean, you're never gonna stop the cartels. They use freaking catapults and stuff to get over the border with drugs. Like they'll find a way, but the border wall is a big help and keeping them more confined. And then once that's done, we can move in and actually help out more. I think there's no reason the U.S. can't get involved, even if it is just for low-lying things like helping police the state. If we're gonna go and police anywhere in the world, it shouldn't be Iraq. It shouldn't be Afghanistan. It shouldn't be Pakistan. It shouldn't be any of these Middle Eastern countries. It should be Mexico who needs our help. It should be our southern border neighbor, and we should go in and we should do everything we can to aid them. I don't understand why the Mexican government wouldn't want our help. I know they don't Mexican pride is a big part of this. I know. They really want to be and want to show that they can take care of themselves and be an independent state. And I don't think we should undermine that at all. Uh, but at some point, enough's enough with this kind of stuff. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that. I really hope we do something about it. I I really want to support Mexico in general. I think uh, we the U.S. would do well to help them out, and it would look good not only to us and the president, it would look good to all the Mexican nationals or immigrants that we have in the United States. We have a large Hispanic population in general, but specifically Mexican on the border, Texas, California, etc., Arizona. Um, and we need to show that we care about their people. We care about their home country. Remember, a lot of this immigration is because of where Mexico is at as a country. We have to remember. Uh, I am probably much more lenient than a lot of people on the immigration in general. I still would like. I still think the border wall is a good idea. I still think being tough on uh, just free immigration. I don't like. I don't think that's a good idea. You can't just have open border. But I do think we need to do something about our them on the other side. We need to slow the immigration down and then say, hey, let's let's fix Mexico so they don't have to come here. You know what I mean? If we did something to help Mexico that would aid us as well, like I said, with infrastructure, with helping the manufacturing there, helping to curb the cartels, stuff like that. Then these immigrants that come here because they're just seeking a better life, they wouldn't have to. And then all of this talk about the border wall and what that stands for and stuff like that wouldn't matter. Anyway, um, I hope that after the talks with Trump and the Mexican president, things go over well. I'd really like to see us see us do some more uh, for the country of Mexico that isn't necessarily just letting everybody run rampant into our country. It's like I said, I want to fix Mexico so they don't have to come here. I'm both not strict and very strict on what I think about immigration. Uh, I am all for allowing new immigrants in the country, but I think it needs to be controlled, and I think it'd go a long way to help out fixing Mexico in general for us and for them. All right, thank you.